Welcome back to a new video. So this was my workout from Friday after driving back home earlier in the day. I had plenty of time to rest, so I wasn't fatigued from the drive, and downloading a bunch of YouTube videos to listen to on the way home made the drive much easier than I expected, both there and back. I think it helped that the traffic wasn't too bad since I went in the morning both days, although on Thanksgiving, usually the mornings can be pretty busy, but the middle part of Ohio, the Columbus area, is getting a little bit better traffic-wise, so that usually helps. That's around where traffic tends for me to get bottlenecked, and if you know that area, you kind of know what parts of the highway I'm talking about. I'm not sure, not really good at remembering the names of different highways, but just the middle part near like the downtown, the connection between the two main parts of Ohio. But got back and got rested up and felt really good moving into the session. I experimented with having my hips a bit higher, as you can probably tell with some of these muscle snatches, and I kind of tried to carry that over with the regular snatches as well, with the cleans and then with snatch pulls at the end. And for snatches, it feels really good. It's something that will help to be monitoring via video to see exactly the level that my hips are at. I'm still trying to tighten my back before I initiate the lift, so that part hasn't changed. But I'm trying to have my hips be in the position that they're going to be when they start. So oftentimes I'll drop my hips just wherever I want, and then they'll kind of go up to correct where they'll be naturally, and that will lead to an inconsistent position from which I start my pull. So I think this is kind of like the next step is, obviously get my back tight, but to kind of get my hips, not necessarily like it being correct that it's higher, but into the position that it's going to be and trying to maintain that position. Because you'll notice on some of the reps that my hips, when I start to pull, shoot up a little bit, and sometimes it doesn't. And that's something that is going to be really important to monitor on videos. Like, I want my hips to go at the start where I want them to be, and then to stay at that position as I start to pull, and not to just take over the pull of the lift. And that's something that's going to be a detriment as I get heavier with the weights. And speaking of the weights, I was actually able to get up to 120 and do that for 2 stinky singles, and almost did it for 3. But you'll see there was really difficult, but it's the first time I've done 120 since the competition. So I was happy about that, especially, just in the context of working on technical things too. So it wasn't just, I just want to go heavy. I was working on technical things and felt pretty decent. I did miss this 110 there, and I came back and made it better on this one. And one thing I was noticing as a possible like consistent fault is the bar getting kind of pushed off in front of me when I start. So that's something to kind of keep in mind, to really try to pull it in close or keep it close to my legs when I start the pull. But I don't know, it's interesting because it felt really, really good on muscle snatches. And obviously, I was not able to think about it as much on snatches as I got heavier, but I definitely was trying to implement the same thing, but you can kind of see like my hips shoot up a little bit. So it's definitely something to get better at. And there, didn't catch it very well. It was in front, and of course my left arm wants to press out. But speaking of my fun left arm, that one was a little bit better, but you can see it's pretty maximal for the particular day. Speaking of my arm, so I did, after you'll see the clean jerks, and actually before I get to all that, I did one split jerk here, and I don't know if you can see my back foot. Let's see if I can notice it on video. It slips a little bit. I can't even really tell, but it slipped a little bit, and it's absolutely terrifying. So I asked Justin, my roommate, to switch platforms, because I needed to do split jerks, and I wasn't going to be able to go heavy on that platform and feel comfortable about doing it. One thing before I get into other stuff with split jerks that I want to get better at is kind of getting my front foot out more. This angle is interesting to analyze technique from with my footwork, because it makes my front foot look like it's not moving out very far in front of me. So it's just something to think about when I'm practicing the movement, to really kind of get my feet split out and get the bar pushed behind me. But I was able to get up to 145 and then did a clean with 150, but decided better about attempting the jerk because of how difficult the clean was. Both my elbows bumped my knees when I caught it. It was really difficult, so you'll see that here in a second. But after I did 5 sets of 3 in the front squat and 5 sets of 3 in the snatch pull, I went and did some bench press, and I actually got up to 102, so I do 225 for 2 sets of 5 and a set of 3, and then did some drop sets at 84 kilos or 185 pounds for a couple sets, and then another drop set at 61. And surprisingly, like the next day, my chest isn't sore at all, so I'm definitely starting to recover better from that movement. I'm not getting those extreme DOMs that I get after, not benching for a couple months. So it's nice to have that in. But after I benched, I did a bunch of rear delt work, particularly external rotators. So if you have a dumbbell, like if you have your arms at 90 degrees and your hands up, I guess kind of like you're putting your hands up like you're gonna get arrested, but you have your biceps perpendicular to your forearms. In that motion, just moving my arms up and down in internal and external rotation. Doing those with dumbbells felt pretty good on my arms. It's something I want to continue to add in. And then did some rowing, some one arm rows, just kind of focusing on that same rear delt, which is always good to kind of do after bench press. If anyone does bench press, it's good to do like pulling stuff or shoulder, rear delt, and upper back, and just that kind of movement to counteract what you did with the bench press. I've always liked doing that, and it's something that kind of made sense on that particular day. It's funny, on both of those first sets of 3 front squats, I hit the J hooks on the right side for whatever reason, but I think I just got twisted a little bit or didn't step out even. It's funny when that happens. Looking back on it, it's really annoying when you're trying to rack it and it's banging around and spinning around. But I don't think I did anything after that. I spent about 10 minutes looking for my car keys because they were lost in the gym for a little bit, but I was really happy with the amount of productive work. So this kind of session, like in the doing more reps, would be still like the Saturdays before. I just happened to do it on Friday, but it's like the heavy day of the week, so heavier in the classics, and then still, instead of going heavy on the front squats, as you see, trying to do reps, although 150 for me for a triple is pretty heavy. And actually 150 for a set of 5 is still my best set of 5 in the front squat, which is hilarious to think about because I've done so much more since that time when I originally did it. But reps in the front squat are still very difficult. Adding a movement in like these, like snatch pulls, will be nice for one, the strength work and the practice of whatever weight that I happen to be pulling on, but also to experiment with my hips a little bit more in a less pressure situation. And I was noticing it felt like my hips were like super high, not when I was actually doing the lift, but like looking after, they seem higher than it was when I was just doing normal snatches. So that's something I was playing around with all of these, is trying to push them a little bit lower, but not trying to find that perfect spot where there can be at. So I think my snatches for a little bit might be either, they might just be inconsistent, or they might just start to feel really good just based on how the muscle snatches were when things start to click in that. As I get my posterior chain more involved, especially I guess in that kind of like second and third pull, because that initial push off the ground, it's really your legs till it's past the knee, and then your hamstrings and everything else can take over. Quads, I should say, not legs. Obviously your legs are working throughout the movement, but I kept it at 140 here just to keep practicing, and obviously I could have done a lot more weight, but my focus now is trying to make this 140 kind of move how I want it to move, and then potentially add weight. But the front squats were more imperative for me to try to push the weight a little bit like I did on that last set. But one concept of the Polish program was that like each week you add like I think 0 to 2.5 kilos, and you keep the sets the same. So it's kind of the concept I'm going to try to do. I might just, for like the strength movements, I might just add 5 kilos because it won't be that difficult for the first couple. But if it feels really difficult, then I'll kind of move around, because that's kind of the other idea I wanted to add into it, is kind of what I would call like the AI programming aspect of it. So if you've ever done like the weightlifting AI or any similar type thing, I've noticed it on the AI, weightlifting AI, is if you say set's easy, it will increase the weight. If you say it's difficult, it will decrease it. Just like with the movements, if you give it 3 white lights, it goes up after a couple sets, or it will go down if you say it's difficult or you missed. And so kind of like for most people, it's just normal programming, but having smaller jumps in between there. So like for the front squats, if I have a set that feels easy, maybe the next set go up to that 150 and then go back down and kind of explore different weights around that range that I want to be at, instead of just having all of the sets be 140 and then next week increasing by 2.5 kilos. Just kind of like look at the average of the sets that I did instead of just having straight sets. So something I've been thinking about implementing a little bit more as well, especially for those strength sets. But that's it for this one. A very long workout, a very productive one, and hopefully one that I can build upon the technique of. I feel like I'm starting to have more and more breakthroughs with the technique of the snatch, and I'm starting to do more and more strength movements to help with the shoulders and help to balance everything out. So hopefully all starts to come together, and I can start hitting 120s consistently and make them look easier and easier and easier. And same with like clean and jerks, I can get the jerks better and start hitting like those 150s just in routine workouts where I just am not super hyped up for it. I'm just doing it kind of how I was doing the 145s and the 115s before. So it's a process we're building, and that's always the goal. But change the series title to doing more reps because I'm going to be doing a lot more reps. And this day, the weightlifting movements had less reps in general, but everything else will have a lot more. That's enough blank space at the end. I do apologize for my ramblings after the video does end. I try to do my best to be concise, but I can never do it. And I don't want to keep re-recording the audio because I try to get everything out that I want to, but I end up going 2 minutes over every time. Anywho, that's it for this one. Talk to you all in the next video. Peace.